Welcome back to our channel. Today's discussion is one of my favorite discussions, actually. When I first got involved in motivational speaking and writing and publishing, one of the first books that I had written was a book entitled How to Make $1 Million Without Anyone Knowing About It. And I wrote it for a private company. So this is not a book you can go to Amazon and you can find. In a couple of years, I will put the book in its entirety. It's a 300-page book. I will put it on Amazon, but I'm just not interested in converting it right now. It did really well in the private industry, and it's a lot of good thoughts in there. But we're going to talk more about some specifics as to how you can make $1 million and nobody know about it. It's not really difficult to make that kind of money, but first you need to understand what is $1 million. Well, basically $1 million is $83,333 per month, but that still might be too large of a number for the average person to feel themselves through so they can get a full grasp. So if you were to convert that daily, now you're talking about $2,777, or we could just round it up and say $2,800 daily. Now that still may be a bigger number than most of us can even imagine. So let's just even make it much more smaller. So the average person, a full-time worker in the United States, works 5 days a week and they work 8 hours a day. So $2,777 is actually $347 an hour for 8 hours. But because it's a business, we're talking 7 days a week. So 7 days a week at $347 an hour for 8 hour period. Or you can do the math and do it differently, double it up, make it $700 for 16 hours in a day and work half the week. But this obviously is not with you doing the work. To make that type of money, you have to have some systems in place. And the true reality of it is all of us have at one time received at least $347. It's not a big fantastical number. It's just a number. It's a mile marker. It's a marker to show what happened for you to reach a specific event. You might make that in a week. What if you could get a week's pay 8 times in one day? That would be your $2,777. That would be awesome, but it's highly unrealistic. And that's where we begin this conversation. Understanding that really $1 million, first of all, is just not a lot of money. It's just $347 an hour times 8 times 7. All right. Now, like I said, you've had many opportunities. You may have sold something. Maybe you sold a television and you made $500 from it, a used TV. Or maybe you sold a bunch of your old clothing at a weekend event and you made $600 over the weekend. That's great. That's a good story, right? Because you got rid of things and you got some profit in at the same time. Or maybe you sold your car and you made $3,000. You sold it for $5,000. You had to pay off a loan, or you had to recoup some of the monies that you put in to make the car run properly. And now you've got $3,000. That's your $2,700, $2,800. So we've all done these things before. So getting really excited over $1 million is just not really the point. Now, $2 million is a different story, because with $2 million, you have a chance to make some mistakes. But then when you look at the tax laws, that's the problem. So with $2 million, you're really going to be at a 50% tax bracket. So you're only going to be stuck with $1 million. $1 million doesn't give you a chance to make some mistakes and still remain a millionaire. So guess what we need to do? We need $4 million. Now you're getting to the point where you have real choices. You can make mistakes and pick up the pieces along the way and keep going. But how do you make money like this and not have anyone know about it? Well, it's a simple secret. Don't tell them. Don't tell them you have money. Now, here's the biggest mistake many millionaires make. They tell people, I'm broke, and then pull up in a Bentley. You don't look broke. Now, there's some people, famous people that we know are famous, that make $20, $30 million a movie, 10 million, a few. And they drive up in these old, well, I shouldn't even say old, they're new cars. They just have small sticker prices when you go shop for them at the auto dealership. I'm not going to name any names. I'm not name dropping. But I know a professional movie star. He was in that movie where the boat sank. That's all I'm going to tell you. And he drives around in a Prius. A Prius. You're talking about a less than $20,000 car. But he's got millions in the bank. But you obviously know that he's a millionaire. One big giveaway for people who make a lot of money is they generally have really big, enormous houses. When I was growing up as a kid, and the neighborhoods that I grew up in, I didn't grow up in a neighborhood with a big house. That's not the story I'm telling. But in the neighborhoods that were around where I grew up in would be a better way to say it. These big giant homes, just castles, colossals like mansions, just amazingly beautiful, had in the driveway the most simplest of cars. Not the big Mercedes. Some of them did, but the majority just did not have the big Mercedes. They had like Pontiacs, they had like Buicks, they had like Fords, they had like Chevrolets. And even when you look at professional football players, what do they drive? You know, they've got their Lambos, yeah, but they're everyday cars that you see them ride around in are like pickup trucks, Escalades, Navigators. They drive the cars that you and I, because the variety is just not out there. And then people start to realize at some point, the money just doesn't really matter that much in those senses. So the first thing to do is you just don't tell people that you make $1 million. The second thing is you buy economical. I also, and many of us know famous people, but I know an individual in particular, a pretty cool, awesome person who had $40 million in the bank, but yet he's renting an apartment for $800 a month. We've heard this story. I mean, if you put $40 million, $800 apartment in Google, it'll tell you. You might be surprised who the individual is, but guess what? This is the success. This is what actually happened. This is what he did, because he didn't allow the money to control him. He controlled the money. And he was happy. He's always been happy. Every time you see him, he's happy. Yeah, he has stresses like everybody else. But for the most part, he's happy because he controls his money. That's the other thing. You have to be able to control your money. Are you tired of scrolling through endless videos on YouTube looking for content that aligns with your value about relationships? Well, look no further. Then love is not judgmental. By becoming a member of our channel for just $4.99 a month, you will be supporting the making of informative relationship videos, plus exclusive benefits only for our members, such as loyalty badges, priority replies to your comment, member shout-out, and members-only live chat. Plus, we will be creating exclusive video content just for you, our members, so that you can deepen your understanding about the challenges and the joys of a relationship. So join our community today and experience the benefits of being a part of Love is Not Judgmental. You can also look for a link to our YouTube channel in our bio. Remember this. You're spending. Because here's what happens. I used to sell cars and I used to do mortgage refinancing. And when people buy, let's go back. When people first see a home and they get all excited and they just like loving it and everything, and then they have to get the financing together. Everything's fine until reality sets in. When reality sets in, the first bill comes in the mail and says, you've got 30 days. Actually, you got like 45 days. They send it like 15 days in addition to the 30-day time period. So you got 45 days to send in your first payment. You're like, the excitement just starts to go down a little bit, right? And then the next month, the same thing. And then the next month, the same thing. And guess what you're left with? Reality. And the reality of it is that you look at the home that you're in, and it's still wonderful, but it just doesn't have that fire, pop, because now you've alternated. It's kind of like a relationship. So when you meet the young gentleman, or you meet the beautiful young woman, or whomever, older woman, young man, whatever, just the person that you meet. In the beginning, it's stars and firecrackers and electrical bolts and lightning just all over the place. And then as time goes on, you kind of settle down. You get comfortable, right? So the mindset is you want to get comfortable with your money so that nobody knows you have it. When you're comfortable with your money, you don't feel that itch that you got to go out and buy a $10,000 guitar. You don't have to do anything like that. You can buy one for $500, just like anybody else, and find the same joys and same benefits out of it. It comes the same with a car. You don't need to. Okay, so you buy a car. New cars are just amazing. Now, we have new cars. You get in a car. In old cars, you still have to use a key. You got to stick the key in the ignition, start it up, right? In these new cars, all you have to do is keep your key in your pocket, sit in the car, and hit the start button. Oh, they start right up. It's absolutely amazing. But you have higher end cars that do this, and you have low end cars. And in many cases, it's an option. Auto start. It's an option, right? And then you could be in your home and you can hit a remote and you can start your car from a distance, especially if you live in states where it's cold and it's uncomfortable and you don't want to go out. You want to go to a heated car. So before you get out the car the night before, you got your heat set on and you got your radio on your favorite station. So you hit the button, you let it sit there for like 5 or 10 minutes. You're still getting dressed. You have your last bit of coffee and you're out the door and you get in your car and guess what? It's comfortable. So you can do these things at different levels. The thing is, we're trying to say you have to be comfortable enough and mature enough with the money that you've earned that you can just be okay with the simpler things because they're going to do all the same things. For example, a beautiful home is going to provide you with a roof over your head. Hopefully you don't buy a home without a roof, but generally we understand that when you buy houses, they have roofs. So when it rains, you're protected. When it snows, you're protected. When there's animals running around your neighborhood, you've got walls, you're protected. Guess what? A $10 million house will do the same as a $100,000 house or $200,000 house. You don't have to put yourself out there. You can find lots of enjoyment. There are people living right next door to you who have a different means to living. And it's pretty amazing. You're out there working your job, making your little $40,000, $50,000 a year, and they've got $20 million in the bank account. And they leave out just like you do, except they're not going to work. They may be going to the library. They may be out there doing research. You'd be surprised how many millionaires hang out at the library reading. It's amazing, even in this day and time, mind-blowing, because it's something to do. You'd be surprised how many millionaires, people with options, go to stores just to check out perhaps latest fashions and don't buy anything just because they just want to see what's current. That's just what people do. They're not victims of association to spend the money. They're not their own victim. What they are people in control. So there are many ways that you can make $1 million and not have anybody know about it. And it starts with just keep your mouth closed. It's none of their business. And sure, for someone coming from a very poor environment, reaching out and becoming successful and making a lot of money, that takes a lot of self-control. People go, oh, I can do it. Yeah, it's easy to say what you can do when you don't have it. But there's a bubbling inside. Oh, the doors have opened. I mean, there are people out here who make $50 million a year, and you never know it. One of my first experiences in life, I think I was about 18, 19 years old. I started working actually I was a little older than that. So I would have been about 20, 21 years old. And I started working at a dealership, auto sales, and I worked in the truck department. And I'll never forget this day, this man came to the store, and this is my second day out of training. So to be an auto salesperson, you have to take a 2-week training at this particular company I work with. And so I'm 2 days out of training. And this gentleman comes with a lot, older white man, looking all dirty and rough, and he's got on like a jumper, and it's all dirty. Looked like he played in the dirt, right? And so all the experienced salespeople were out, and I think it was only like 3 of us that were hired that day that was still working, but I was the only new person that was working in this area with all the experienced salespeople. And they say, hey, rookie, you got an up. Up just basically means you got an opportunity to go sell somebody. So they tell me, go and talk to the man. So I wanted to test out all that I just learned in training. I spent 2 weeks. Nothing happened the day before. This is my second day out. And here's a gentleman, and they telling me to go talk to him. I said, of course, I go. So I go out, and I reach out to shake his hand, and it's dirty. But I didn't care. He says, my hands are dirty. I says, it's okay. And I just shook his hand. I'm doing what I was trained to do. So I said, well, what can I help you with? What are you looking for? And of course, I did the small talk. How are you? What area you live in? Blah, blah, blah. We did all that kind of little talk. And then I got to the point. And I'm speeding this up for the sake of the time of the video. So I say to him, I says, what are you doing? What can I help you with? And he told me he just wanted to come by just to take a look at some vans. I says, absolutely. Let me tell you what I know. And he looked, he says, okay. So we go around to the side, and all the sales, nobody's interested in what I'm doing. They all kind of leave me alone. And so we go down to the side and we see these vans. And I remember I fell in love with this color, pearl opal essence. I fell in love with this color. And it was like a pinkish, white, bright, creamy kind of color. It was just beautiful to me, right? Looked like a pearl. And so he saw this van and he loved it. And I said, that's my favorite one. He says, why? I said, I love the color. He said, that's what got my interest too. I said, let me tell you what I know. I says, one of the things that I would always talk about with my clients about vehicles was the safety points. So they're like 20-something odd safety features inside of every vehicle that are standard. Some have more. And I told him about those 22 vehicle safety features. And he was just impressed. He was like, wow. So he falls in love with the vehicle. I said, hey, let's take it for a drive. Now this man is looking like the greatest bum that has ever landed on planet Earth. And he says, no, 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 my clothes are too dirty. He says, I might come back again. He says, I don't know, but I thank you for your time. And he shook my hand and he left. I go back to where the other sales guys are. They kind of like laughing at me. Yeah, how was your first day out? I said, this is my second day. Well, how was your second day out? You letting him go? You letting him go? He can't buy it anyway. But they made all these silly jokes. So this is about 10 o'clock in the morning that this happened. We don't get off until 6 p.m. So around 3:30ish, 4 o'clock, this gentleman with this beautiful blonde woman comes into the dealership and they ask for Marvin G. Kane, because I did give my business card. Marvin G. Kane, your favorite sales guy. So they page me and I come out and this guy looked familiar to me, but I wasn't really sure. But he did look familiar and I'm like, oh wow, whoa. I said, you clean up real good. An expression I heard on television. I was not raised with this expression. So I said, wow, you clean up really good. So he says, yeah, he said, this is my wife, Donna. And so he comes in with his wife and he sits down. He says, I came to get that truck. Really? He says, yeah. He says, you want to sell it to me? He says, yeah. He says, let's sit down and let me write you a check. I says, all right. We get what we call the 5-liner. So a 5-liner is basically for identification purposes with your driver's license and so forth and proof of insurance, where we can go in the system and pull somebody's general credit report. So he understood this because it turns out he was, I'm not going to say the company, he was the vice president for the East Coast division of a very large international delivery company. He's also responsible for buying the trucks, the cars, and the vehicles for the entire United States. So this guy is making crazy money. His credit report was something like 12 pages. 12 pages, and basically the balances were all like zeros, recent zeros. He's paid off like 3 homes. He had like 20-something cars. I think it was 22 cars that he had. And I'm remembering this story from many, many decades ago. And so he had like every available option to buy anything. He pulls up at the dealership in a Nova. You know what a Nova is? An old car. He pulls up in a Nova, right? Pretty amazing. But yet he buys this $40-something thousand truck, which was at that time a lot of money. And the truck had every bell and whistle on it that you could possibly imagine. So he wants to write a check. Now, here's what was interesting. When I went to go talk to my manager, we had this rule in the dealership that if any sales associate helps another sales associate, they get 50%. So one of the gentlemen that had been training me, working with me, decided when I needed no help with this situation because it was simple. He saw the vehicle, he liked it, he wants to write a check for the full balance. He wants to pay window sticker balance. Money meant nothing to this man. He was buying me. So he wanted to write a check for the full sticker amount, $42,000, no discount, no nothing, plus taxes and tags. It was absolutely amazing. The vehicle was marked up $13,000. Anything marked up over, I think at that dealership, $5,000, you get 50%. So I'm about to make a little over $6,000 on one business transaction. This was my first sale in the auto industry. So this man does not look like originally like he had all this money. So this, I'm going to pause here and I'm going to go back to another principal point. It's almost like when you're in cold weather. Are you tired of scrolling through endless videos on YouTube looking for content that aligns with your value about relationships? Well, look no further. Then love is not judgmental. By becoming a member of our channel for just $4.99 a month, you'll be supporting the making of informative relationship videos, plus exclusive benefits only for our members, such as loyalty badges, priority replies to your comment, member shout out, and members only live chat. Plus, we will be creating exclusive video content just for you, our members, so that you can deepen your understanding about the challenges and the joys of a relationship. So join our community today and experience the benefits of being a part of Love is Not Judgmental. You can also look for a link to our YouTube channel in our bio. Remember this. You dress for the cold. When you're in hot weather, you dress for the heat, right? So because of the work that he was doing, working in his garden, we found out, he was dressed for that occasion. He was not interested in impressing other people. He was only interested in accomplishing his goal of making his yard look good. To take a break, he stumbles into the dealership. So initially, nobody would know that this guy was a millionaire, multimillionaire. I will not disclose what he said his annual income was, but it wasn't even necessary for him to tell me that. And I will never forget this story. He's motivating me to become more because where he grew up at as a child, he was on a farm. So now he's sharing with me a life example of what I could become in my life anytime I chose. So as it went on, and I just told you the part about 50% commission I would stand to make, but also if another salesperson helped you, they get 50% too. So they knew this guy was writing a check for the full amount, and you could see throughout the dealership, people kind of were turning, was watching me, seeing what was going on, right? I'm handling everything right. I just got out of training, so I know the process of what to go through. And so one of the sales guys, the guy I said who was training me, he decided he wanted to help the client out. So he asked the lady and the gentleman if he could get them something to drink. Anything like this, any assistance that some other salesperson gives to your client gains them 50%. So he went and got some additional documents that I was needing, and he put them on the table. When I get back to the desk, I see this little card, and they had like a card system, which meant that if they put their card on your desk, it lets you know that another salesperson helped your client. And now whatever you make, they get half of. Anything. Crazy rule in the dealership, right? This gentleman, remember I told you that he was the vice president for a very large shipping company, international. And his department he was actually responsible for buying all the vehicles in the United States, trucks, whatever, right? He understood that. So he asked to speak to the manager on my behalf. I didn't know what was happening, right? So he asked to speak to the manager. Manager comes out. He says, listen, I'm paying full sticker for this car. I'm not asking for a discount. The sticker you have on the window, I'm paying $1,000 more than the sticker because I'm doing this for Mr. Kane. And I'm paying my taxes and tags. A gentleman just came, and I know how this 50% rule works in the dealership. A gentleman just came, and he assisted without requesting if Mr. Kane needed any help. Mr. Kane already told him earlier he had everything under control. The gentleman pursued, and he went and got some additional paperwork, which Mr. Kane, I believe, would have known to do so because they were in packets. You just get a manila folder, and then the folder has everything you need for that. So he just goes and gets one of those, right? Real simple. I would have done that anyway. And he said, listen, I just want to make this clear. If he has to split his commission with another salesperson, I am not taking this car. I am not taking it because he did not need any assistance. This young man did a very fine job. I'm sitting there like, I'm a little black kid from Baltimore City, right? Back in the States. And here comes this very now expensive looking older white man with his beautiful wife. And he's a very good looking man himself. And they're saying nice things about me. They don't even know me. But he felt like he knew my character because of my insistence to help him and to be a professional. That he actually stood up for me. That is one of the most powerful experiences I had. And the manager says, sir, you don't have anything to worry about. I'll put the form in. Marvin will receive 100%. He says, by the way, who was it that was interfering unnecessarily? And he said, that guy right there. Him and the wife at the same time said, that guy right there. And they let him know, look, you're not getting anything. He says, no. And they changed that ridiculous rule that day because that would have been like theft. That's like me making like $6,600 and then somebody comes in and takes $3,150 from me. That's just a crime. So the dealership realized it. So all in a nutshell, is learn how to stay who you are. Just don't let the money control you. You control your money. And when you're the boss of your income, when you're the boss of the money that you have available to yourself, and you always remember where you came from. Yeah, you can go out and buy a house. We're not saying don't treat yourself kindly. We're just saying if you don't want people to know that you have $1 million, then don't act like you have $1 million and scream. I mean, what does a person who have $1 million act like? They don't all scream and go crazy because I'm telling you, many of your neighbors have $1 million and you don't even know about it. Some of your friends may have millions of dollars in the bank and you don't even know about it. You don't know about it because you don't know what they do. Nowadays, today, people can do all kinds of businesses online, like YouTube videos, and make a significant income. And they could be training people in different features of life all over and over again. So the bottom line to this is learn how to appreciate what you have now and be in control of the income that you can have later so you can live the life that you've always wanted to live in peace without having to see this happen from your friends. Can I answer? See, just live the life you've always been living. So we hope this has been a little eye-opening. We hope it has been enjoyable for you to listen to this information. I enjoy sharing it with you. I love sharing these thoughts and experiences, these very positive experiences that I've had throughout my life. And so if you like this video, please hit the like button, hit the share button. Share it with a friend. Share it with a coworker. Share it with someone you're business partners with. Just share the information. Help me grow my channel. I love doing what I do, being a positive reinforcement in a world that potentially has a lot of negativity around it. So listen, I thank you again for watching the video. This is Marvin G. Kane, your favorite host, and I hope you do have a fantastic day as you make $1 million and don't let nobody know about it.